This is the Balanced Growth Show with Dr. Travis Perry, helping successful business professionals like you achieve balance in their lives.
Welcome to the Balanced Growth Show. I am your host, Dr. Travis Perry. Today, we are so thrilled to have Matt Reiner. Matt is a CFA CPA and partner of Capital Investments, founder of Benjamin, author of the Dr. Cole Cash series and Ready to Be Rich, and a popular podcaster of Bridging the Gap. Matt's passion to help other financial advisors grow in their knowledge of practice management, help them evaluate their technology needs, and inform them on what's new in the industry. Matt is dedicated to helping the industry grow and evolve. Matt believes that with true innovation, RIAs will attract top-tier talent, create practices that are efficient and scalable, and offer high-quality personal service to clients at all levels of wealth. Welcome, Matt, to the show.
Thanks for having me, Travis. Glad to be here.
Absolutely, man. I know it's been fun to get to know you a little bit here on your show, and now having you back on mine is a treat. So tell us, how'd you get to where you are today?
Yeah, well, like you mentioned, it was awesome having you on Bridging the Gap with us, and it's an honor to be here and talking with your audience. This is as you read in that bio, something that I'm passionate about. My background, is wealth management, right? I grew up in wealth management. I grew up as the youngest of just two. I have an older brother and a family that we grew up here in Atlanta, Georgia. But my path here is my father started a wealth management firm 25 years ago called Capital Investment Advisors here in Atlanta, Georgia. And, that was kind of my path of I wanted to go and I watched him build it, and I was inspired by his leadership and entrepreneurship and the impact that he was making on individuals and families and also employees. And so, out of the gate, that's where I wanted to be. I always joke that, growing up, instead of watching cartoons, we had CNBC on, and, instead of, going in and doing summer camp, I was going in and helping him figure out premium discounts on closed-end funds and ETFs and understanding of that nature. And it was just awesome to be around. It's a family-oriented environment. Some of the first employees used to babysit me when I was growing up, and they're still working, and now they're, partners of ours that we're working alongside. So, went to Arizona State, knew I wanted to come back to Georgia and work in the firm. And that's what we did. I started as an advisor, helping build out the investment committee. As you mentioned, that was my thought that I was going to go down that path. That's why I went and got my CFA designation. And then I found a passion in technology as well. And we started to build our own technology firm. We started another wealth management firm called Wella Strategies as well to help the mass affluent. And then I started a technology firm to help grow both that business. And that's evolved into running a business that we now call Benjamin, which is a workflow automation engine for advisors. But if you think about, my path to where we are, everything that we've done in terms of our journey has been, how do we provide access to human financial advice to more people? And we believe that it's so necessary for people to live their best life and what we call their happiest retirees. And we want to help families find happiness in retirement. And so we try to provide access to everybody from $10,000 of net worth to $100 million worth of net worth. And we've created the ecosystem, and we think that both our RAs and our technology are there. So it's been a fun journey, but I'm very grateful and fortunate to have a path laid by my dad 25 years ago.
You had a little bit of a leg into the industry, so to say, but you've really improved upon it by allowing advisors some help. And, in the world of technology, it seems like everything is an app, everything is technological focused. I have recently been involved in trying to build my own app. And so I know there is a lot of headache on your end, but then in the user interface, both client and even advisor, it's crucial, right? It's crucial you have the right technology stack. It's crucial that you have the right tools. How has things like Benjamin really been able to move the needle for advisors to provide that to very much needed advice to the end user, the clients?
Yeah, I think that UI or user interface and UX, user experience, and all that type of stuff is extremely important. Don't get me wrong. And we came at it from a different angle, because we came at it, we had a problem within our own firm that we were struggling with. We had people that were drowning in terms of workload and being stretched so thin that we needed to solve that problem. And so we solved that problem internally with the solution that we now call Benjamin. And we saw that it created a relief valve, right? And it created capacity and opportunity for them. And we saw them flourish into more opportunities. And we saw that they could expand and we could delay hires and everything of that nature. And so we came at it from a sense of saying, this industry, the value of this industry hinges on the relationship that advisors and their teams, not just the advisors, but the entire team, has with the clients. Because clients care more about, do they get me? Do they understand me? Do I have a relationship with them, more so than what is the asset allocation? What are they investing in? And so in order for us to be able to, a passion of mine personally is like, I believe that every person in the whole country should have access to human financial advice and should be offered it, which means that we have to create scale because the number of CFPs and the number of advisors out there is growing, but it's constrained. It has a cap. We need to provide them capacity to be able to solve that mission. And so as a matter of, let's take away a lot of this menial, mundane tasks that we're doing day to day and get people in the mentality so that they can grow their firm, they can grow their value, they can grow their fulfillment in their job, because nobody's really fulfilled by processing paperwork. Nobody's really fulfilled by sending an email. Nobody's really fulfilled by going and checking 3 different systems to see if an account is open and funded and how much needs to be funded. That's not fulfilling. And so it's a matter of, how do we get people into more, doing higher level, more sophisticated work and more fulfilling work. And that is by eliminating the unfulfilling and menial automatable work. And that's what we do at Benjamin. And I think that's what we can do more of.
So great. Anything that has to do with systems, with processing, with making things more productive in the world, like, it's absolutely needed. It's a huge value. So I love what you guys are about. Talk to us about how, as we talk about growing your firm, what has been some of the best, easiest ways to grow, to scale, that your firm has done so well?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really, that's a great question. It's also a large question, right? I think that when it comes to growth, right, that's the challenge that all advisors face, is how do I grow more? And unfortunately, I haven't yet found an easy button for growth. And I think that what we have done really well on our firm, but it took time, was really hone in on where we were good. And we were good at content creation. We were good at sharing complex concepts into simple, easily to understand ways. And we also doubled down on what our flag was. And that was twofold: helping families find happiness in retirement. So creating this brand around who we are and doubling down on that. That is who we are. That's what we talk about all the time. And the second thing is that from the beginning of our firm, we've always been a firm that's focused on creating income in retirement. Now and we did it in a different way, but we honed in on that and we owned that, which meant that sometimes we didn't win over certain clients. We couldn't serve everybody, but the people that we did serve, they believed in what we were doing. They aligned with the mission and they aligned with our philosophy. And when you have that, you start to grow. And why do you start to grow? It's because people are tied to it. They get it. They understand it. And it's easy for them to communicate to others. And so what I tell advisors when they ask, like, well, what's gone on to growth? Well, a lot of it was luck, to be honest. Like, we got lucky and it kind of snowballed. So, I haven't yet figured out how to create luck, but it's just a matter of doing the right thing and continually pushing forward and persevering. But is that find your ideal clients that you have. What's so great about them? What do you tell them? And you're likely telling all those people the same story, and go and double down on that story and wave that flag. If you think about all of the best brands in the country, in the world, they are consistently waving the same flag. Whether it's a good time or a bad time to wave that flag, they are waving it. The brands that are up and down, they're always changing their flag, which makes it hard for people to say that company is X, because you're like, well, they used to be that, but now I don't really quite know. So how am I ever going to explain it to someone else? So find your flag, wave that dang flag. And even if it means you're not going to get everybody, buy into that, right? Sell yourself on your own flag and wave it.
That's good advice as far as like really identifying who you are, like have a vision, know who your ideal client is, move towards whatever that niche is and serve that client. I mean, I think a lot of people ask me, well, how did you do so well with your organic marketing? You haven't spent $1 in advertisement, but you've grown, you doubled and tripled every year. And we tell our advisors here at the Maytime Institute, it's because you've got to identify who it is that you're serving, not just what they need, but how you can help transform their life and make it, so much better, 10 times better, not just moving needle a little bit, but you've got to be able to know what is that process to not only keep clients, but keep them, really engaged in the process. And you're exactly right. It's waving that flag long enough that people know that you're around, and that organic marketing can really build, right? And as it has for you, if you're all over the place on PR. I see a lot on various networks and getting interviewed. That happens over time. That didn't just happen day one, as we all know.
And just to elaborate on that for a second, because I think you bring up a good point. It's like I always say own your uniqueness, right? Like own who you are. And I think that there's a challenge just as human beings of doing that, because we have a desire to be accepted. And as an advisor, we feel accepted when people say yes to us, and we want to go and get accepted as much as we can. So when we aren't getting new clients in, we start to broaden who we are to serve what other people want, as opposed to owning who we are. And that gets us in trouble, because it's a short-term fix to a bigger problem that's going to create a creator of an issue in the future. And so if you can really just double down and own your uniqueness and not try to fold just to meet your need of being accepted, just accept yourself and know that you're doing the right thing, you're making an impact, and that if you continue down that consistently, that your impact will continue to become greater. It's hard, when you start out with a podcast, as like your first, lots of episodes, like you're getting like 5 listeners and you're like, well, this isn't making an impact. But if you do it consistently, you start to spread the word. And if you stay true to who you are, people then are able to identify who you are and what you're about and be able to relate. And that's how you grow your audience, grow your brand, grow your firm. And I think that that's something so important.
Yeah, very, very well said. We talked about this in the pre-show. I had a gentleman who came up after my breakout at FPA yesterday, and he said, "Hey, I listen to your podcast. You don't know me, I lost 25 pounds because of you." And I was like, wait, what? He's been listening to my podcast long enough. He knows how to make time for the things that are important in his life. And I'm sure that's how it is with you, with your marketing, organically spreading that word, staying in it long enough. What would you say, Matt, everything, you've got a bunch going on, right? You've got your firm, you got Benjamin, you've got podcasts, you've got a bunch of things happening. What would you say are some of the 1, 2, 3 biggest obstacles in scaling these businesses while keeping your own personal balance intact?
Yeah, I wish I had the right answer, and I don't have the exact right answer. I think it's a work in progress at all times. And I think that there's a side of the equation that says, well, Matt, you get your hand in too many things. Like, how are you able to commit focus and attention to that? And I think that that's a fair point. And for me, it's been I am on a lifelong journey of perfectionism, and it's a journey that I know I'll never reach, but it's a journey that inspires me to keep going. And so for me, because if you look at my values, my core value that everything's built on is my family and spending time and being present with my family. And I feel that over the past 3 to 5 years, I've done a really great job of investing in myself, both mentally and tactically, to help ensure that I'm able to be there with my family, independent of what's going on in my business life. And so a lot of that stems from creating great balance and self-awareness on my side, and that stemmed from meditation probably changed my life to help me become self-aware and understanding of where I am and kind of putting my feet in the moment. And that's been a big one. And then the second is really reading, is doing a lot of reading. I love to learn, and I love to take bits and pieces from every book that I learn, and I test it. I'm a big tester, iterator, that I try different things. So like time bounding, and how I create my schedule, and task management, and how do I get thinking time and deep work and all this type of stuff. And I take from every book one or two things, and I don't take everything. And some of the things stay and stick, and some of them don't. But it's created this more aware individual that I understand how I need to focus, what I need to focus on, how do I organize my focusing. And the final thing is journaling. And I mean, this isn't anything like groundbreaking, but this is all stuff that's really helped me. Is that journaling? The reason that journaling has helped me is I have a clear routine every morning, right? I don't look at my phone until about 8:30. I don't look at my emails until that time. I wake up, I work out, I shower, get dressed, I meditate, and then I feed my daughter, and then I wake, and then I go down and I journal and I read for 30 to 45 minutes. And journaling helped me get things out of my head, because what I found that I was doing was I was finding myself spending so much time building these stories in my head that were not productive to what I was doing in my day-to-day life, but it was taking my attention away. So the impact on my to-do was I was just doing these like tactical menial tasks just to make me feel like I was making progress, but I never had enough mental aptitude or ability to think deeply about things, because I was like thinking about like, gosh, this thing was really frustrating me, or why am I doing that? Now I'm able to journal about it, and I'm able to put it down on paper. And that's been so helpful to help me create awareness and self power in my own mind. And so that's not like a scheduling tactic, right? That's not like a task management tool, but it's allowed me to become aware and allowed me to iterate myself, and over that I've created this process that allows me to dedicate really deep time to each of my endeavors to make them better, and also understand when to say no, because I just can't do it anymore.
You mentioned something. You said this may not bring breakthroughs, but I think journaling, man, like I think this is underrated. I think we tend to think, well, journaling, it's for like, for someone else to read about my life later and maybe, create a memoir. Not so much, even my wife and I mean, personally, this morning, we were looking back on some things that we wrote about just last year. We just were laughing about some things that came to pass because we wrote it down. We wrote it out. Mm-hmm. I've got a journal that I keep right here at my desk. If you're watching on the video, I journal all the time, literally every day. Ideas that come to my mind. Now, these aren't to-dos. It's just getting out the thoughts from the brain onto a platform, a medium that the brain can say, you got the thought out. A lot of times you have stress because it's there, it's stuck, it's not able to get out. To-dos, thoughts, ideas, whatever. But when I can just journal it down either on my iPad or on a piece of paper, it becomes real. Whether it becomes that exact idea doesn't matter. It'll morph, it'll grow. And so, man, I am a journalistic, individual. I believe in it. And some of my best ideas come at, after I'm in bed and journaling at night, business, personal, whatever it is, because I'm able to actually get it out. So I'm with you. I think this is a great place to continue to maybe even dive a little bit further. What would you suggest advisors do? Like, how do they start journaling? What was it for you that helped you? How is this related? Maybe is this related to deep work? Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think that, where I struggled with journaling early on, and also with a lot of this stuff, was I'm a black and white thinker, and finding my gray space has been something that has been a constant challenge for me, but something that I've constantly worked on. And I think as advisors, especially entrepreneurs and, and growth-minded individuals, is that we always think that everything we do needs to have a purpose. Like, what is the outcome of what we're doing? Like, why are we doing it? And if I do it now, then what's the outcome? And so I always try to create like this perfect method and this perfect strategy and make it all so great. And like identify what is the goal and what is the outcome. And I realized like every time I journaled, like sometimes it was like random stuff. And I'm like, what the heck is that? Like, what am I doing? And I was like, you know what? This is worthless. Like, it's not helping me solve a problem. And like, I have to journal about a problem I'm having. And, that really stifled my ability to journal, and I had to take a break from it. I came back and I started with some journaling tactics where they led you in with some questions, and I would just write a couple of sentences and just got going. And then I eventually got away from that. And now I just journal what's on my mind. Like I recently read an article about Andrew Luck, who is a former quarterback who just literally quit at the height of his career, like literally just retired, not quit. He retired. And, he talked about journaling, how he just journals about what's on his mind. Like he digs into why did he end football? And sometimes like if I'm in a fight with like a friend or my brother or my significant other, like I journal about that. Like, why am I feeling this way? And if everything is really good, then I just write out like, why am I feeling so great? Like, what is going on? And I just like sit there and have a cup of coffee. And so what I would encourage people to do is that it's so uncomfortable. Like it's uncomfortable to do like your first few times, but I would just say spend 10 minutes and just do it for 3 weeks straight. Just force yourself to do it. And after that, you're going to find yourself like it's becoming easier, because we all have challenges in our day. And some people just go and start journaling about like what worked yesterday and what do you want to succeed on tomorrow. I got back into it just journaling about affirmations. I just did affirmations after affirmations. And then I was like, I just want to start writing again. And I just started writing, and now I just do some affirmations and I write. So what I would suggest is if you have trouble, then just say what you did good. List out 3 things you did good today, 3 things you want to accomplish tomorrow, and just be done with it. Just do that and let that build on itself. And then maybe just journal about, 3 or 5 sentences about what was successful and why, and what it made you feel. Like go deep into your feelings. And I would just say, just time bound it and just say, I'm just going to sit here with this pen and this paper, and I'm just going to just write. And you know what? I never read my journal. I give you credit, you and your wife. I never read it. It's on my bookshelf. Every time I get through with one, I just put it on the bookshelf. I never read it. I don't even reread it that day. I just write it and I'm done, because it's now out of my head and I can move on with a clear mind and a clear focus for the day and achieving.
Yeah, we all do it differently, but I love your approach to it. Like it's just to get it out, right? It's to get you from keeping it inside. Some of those ideas are best written out. And I used to tell my students as I was teaching some college courses a while back, the research I've seen on learning is get off your phone, get off your laptop, your iPad, unless you're using, the pen or something on an iPad or a similar device, because the best thing for you to do is actually do pen to paper. Your brain tends to recognize it better and use different colors. Like I would give them a whole scheme of how to take notes. They go, yeah, that sounds good. And they go back to their phones, right? They wouldn't believe me, but it's so true. We actually remember things. So a lot of times we may not have to actually go back to the journal. We may not actually have to, try to retain it because we've written it out and it has a different staying place in our brain. The brain says, hey, that's important to you. I'm going to keep this for a little bit longer. So I like that. I mean, how many of us still know our, we grew up in the 80s and 90s. How many of us still know our home phone? Like I can tell that to you right now, but could I tell you what my best friend's phone number is right now? Okay. Besides my wife, I know hers. My best friend besides my wife's phone number, I can't tell you. I just look his name up and I've got it on favorites, right? Because I don't do that anymore. It's a process that we have. I don't need to write it out all the time. It's interesting how our brain works. Fascinating conversation here. I know, balance has a lot to do with these activities. And I love that this has helped to keep you balanced. Why is balance so important in your life, in your firm's culture, or is it? Let's talk that. Let's go towards maybe a little bit towards the culture of your firm and this industry. What would you say towards the importance of balance in your firm and industry?
Yeah, I mean, balance. So this is an interesting question as well, because balance is something that is preached in our firm, maybe not directly by saying the word balance, but it's in the ethos of who we are. And I think that that has to stem back to how we were built. We were built as a family run shop. And, when Dad started the firm, he, like I said, some of the first 5 employees, 2 of the first 5 employees used to babysit me. Right. And they were in my life. And so we built this organization that now has 70 people and 5 offices across the country with family as the mentality. And there's a lot of research and papers around, like, do you call your company family or do you call them like employees? But we call them family, and we believe in family. And like all the way up until we probably had about 20, well, heck, I think we just did one recently with 60 plus employees. Like, we had baby showers for our team, but now everybody's having so many babies that's hard to do. But family is drastically important. And coming out of COVID, even, right, it's a matter of creating that balance to ensure that people spend time with family. And so family is really deep in our roots. Dad's still, involved in the business to some extent, but we are a family, and we believe that you need to spend time both in your office family and with your personal family. And there needs to be a balance. And it's not going to be a perfect 50-50 balance just because of, how sleep goes and all that type of stuff. But your family is important. And we have that balance of saying, we know when to work really hard and when we need to focus on what we're doing, but sometimes life just happens and you need this family, and we're going to be there to balance out your emotions and to balance out the work, and we're going to fill in. But we talk about, and we don't just talk about it, we do it through action. Unfortunately, we've experienced a lot of, members of our team that have either, battled cancer or passed away or whatever it may be. And that's when you see how our team reacts to that and how they step up. That's the most rewarding thing as a leader of this organization to see, because that shows that what we are preaching and how we are acting is infiltrating to everybody, because there is a balance of both purpose and time. And I think that is something that is so drastically important. And you think about on the personal side, like, why is balance important? Because who knows if I've got tomorrow to live, right? And my value and our worth to the world and society is only based on, the impact that we can make, and the family is the biggest impact that we can make that can continue living on. And so without them, there's no purpose in what we're doing. And you've got to have that balance, whether you have a family or you don't. You got to have it with your friends. You got to have it with yourself. You got to have personal time. And I think that balance is important, because we can work all the time, but I don't think anybody, I read a quote and it was so great. I don't think anybody's really wish that they could send that one more email on their deathbed. Like, I don't think someone's like, you know what? Just if I would have sent one more email, it would have been great life. I don't think anybody says that.
No, Covey mentions that, on their deathbed, are they thinking they could work one more hour? It doesn't really compute. That's not what they're thinking about. And you're right. It's the end plan. Like, we plan for so many things, but it's rewarding when you're able to help out the family, help out everyone else. When that happens, I know how important that is. I've seen that impact, and I've been there myself. So I appreciate this. What advice would you give to advisors who are trying to grow, trying to scale, trying to keep their balance, or quite honestly, improve their balance if they're not doing so and they're scaling too fast and they're not able to keep that? What advice would you have for them?
I think when it comes to growing, scaling, finding balance, it really starts internally with yourself. And I think it's finding who you are and being true to that. Even with me early on, and there's some low points as we were building technology in our companies here, our technology companies, is, I was trying to be someone that I wasn't. And that's really, really hard to do for an extended period of time. And the pressure and the just the outside influences, it just makes it hard because you don't know who you are if you're trying to be someone else. And, I think that it goes back to owning your unique. And I think that for someone that's listening, that's trying to find that, you will see drastic growth in your firm. You will see drastic impact on your leadership and on your clients if you just own who you are. And it may not please everybody. You may lose people, but longer term, you're going to be more in charge of your life and more in charge of your impact. And I think that, that self-awareness is probably that self-awareness and self-understanding of who you are has been probably the biggest thing that's grown me as a person, because now I understand what my fallacies are, and I still have them. And it doesn't mean I don't do them. Like I still get angry. I'm not perfect at all, but I have self-awareness of, oh shoot, I just did that. Now I need to go self-correct. And why did I do that? How can I improve on it the next time? But without that self-awareness, it's hard. And I would say within this industry, the idea of mental health and self-awareness and self-understanding has a stigma that's negative, and that's unfortunate. And we have to be there and listen and deal with everybody else's emotions, which means the tendency is that people think that they can't deal with their own because they have to be the strong one. They have to be the one that's sane. And I think that that's BS, to be honest. And I think that, focusing on your own self and your mental side and your self-awareness is the best thing that you can do for your family, for your clients, for your team, and everybody involved. And it's not a bad thing. It doesn't make you weak. So if you want to grow and find that balance, find yourself first. And I'll tell you right now, growth will come, balance will come, and the impact will be enormous, bigger than you ever thought would be possible.
Great advice. Solid place to end this conversation. I know we could go on for a while, and this has been really impactful for those who need it to be today. And it's been a great reminder for me to keep journaling, keep doing that deep work, keep living the vision that I know I should be living for myself and for those who are listening. Hope this has been great information for you. The best way to reach Matt, if you're interested in Benjamin or interested in his firm, reaching out to him for other interviews or just connecting. Matt, what's the best way to reach you?
Yeah, mattreiner.com is the website. You can follow me on Twitter, Matt Reiner, and on LinkedIn. Those are the two areas I'm best at. But feel free to join the inner circle on mattreiner.com. We'd love to have you and keep you informed on everything we're doing. Love it.
Thanks for being here, Matt. Appreciate the conversation and your time that you've made here to be with us on the Balanced Growth Show. Guys, if you love this, or if you know someone that needs this information today, share that with them, like, subscribe, and stay with us on this conversation. Much more to come in this coming year. Thanks again, Matt, for being here.
Appreciate all you do, Travis. Thanks so much, man.